Hey everyone, my name is Matt. Welcome to my shop and welcome to episode 6 of my Ask Matt series where I talk about broader topics and answer questions suggested by you, the viewer. Today we're going to be talking about my chainsaw gear, so let's head over to the bench and we'll get started. Alright, so first before we get into the actual gear, which I have all in my chainsaw box, I thought I'd talk a little bit about my chainsaws themselves. Now these are the two chainsaws I use the most. This is my primary saw and this here is my secondary saw. This here is a Steel 046, it's a 77cc power head, and I have it outfitted with a 28-inch bar. This is the saw that I'll be carrying around like pretty much all the time. I'll do pretty much everything with. I have my other saw is more of a backup saw, or if I want to be walking around a lot with it. But for the most part I use this saw. I like it a lot. It has a lot of power, and with the long bar on it you have a lot of reach, so you don't have to bend over to like to delimb a tree or something. Now this little guy is a Steel 026, is a 45cc engine, and has an 18-inch bar on here right now. This is, like I said, really great because it's super light compared to this one especially. This is probably maybe not even 10 pounds or so. This is probably more like 15, 17 pounds something in there. So this is a lot heavier. This will wear on you quite a bit if you're out in the woods cutting stuff all day. So this is my chainsaw box. I keep pretty much all my chainsaw stuff in this one box. So that way when I want to take my saws out into the woods or take them off site somewhere, or even in the backyard, I can just grab my saws, I can grab this whole box, and I'll have everything I need for my chainsaws with me. I picked this box up off of Craigslist used. I think I paid about 40 bucks for it. You can make your own or you can buy one, but I like it a lot. It's nice to have everything in one place. So right on top here, the first thing I've got are my safety stuff. I've got my chainsaw chaps. These are really nice. They're really comfortable. They're really thick. And even though they don't need to be that thick to actually stop your saw blade, the added thickness here makes it really nice if you're working on the ground at all. So if you have to do any kneeling or anything, it's actually got some nice padding in it, so it helps with your knees. I've also got my chainsaw helmet with a built-in face shield and earmuffs. This is really nice. And I think that's about it for my safety stuff. So I've got those. And then I also have a thing of gas. This is my mixed gas. I also have my bar oil. This bar oil here is the winter blend. It's not very viscous, so it's nice in the winter because that thicker summertime formula is really thick in the wintertime. It doesn't flow that well, so when it's cold out I'll use this one, but I'm all out of the summertime stuff. That's just standard thick, viscous bar oil. I have my wedges. These are great if you're dropping any trees and you want to be sure the tree isn't going to bind the kerf at all, or if you're cutting a tree to length and you don't want it to pinch your bar. These are great for that. These are also good when you're doing your chainsaw milling to put into the kerf so that it doesn't close up on the bar again. So these are really handy to have. I've got 3. I have these 2 shorter ones and I have 1 longer one. When I'm out in the woods, I usually keep a long one in my back pocket. That way I can just grab it out of there and use it as I need it. I keep an extra bottle of mix for the gas in here as well, just in case I run out of gas and I need to make some more. I know where I have this located. And I try to keep at least 1 or 2 of these extra on hand so I don't have to worry about running out of these things and then not having any more mix and then pretty much being done for the day until I can get out to the store and buy a new one. I have a couple extra bars as well. I just have 1 in here right now. I have 2 of these actually. This is a 20-inch bar. I've got 2 of those, so I just keep 1 of them in there just in case something happens to one of my bars. That way I have an extra bar. Who knows what happens out there. I have my chainsaw tool. This is used for adjusting the tension on the chain and for removing the side cover. So you have your sockets on one end and a little screwdriver on the other. That's really handy. I have a couple of these, and I always keep one of these on me when I'm actually out in the woods doing my chainsawing, or when I'm out there using my chainsaw. I also have my little sharpening kit in here as well. So it's a set of files and a raker guide and a raker file. That's nice if you're out in the woods and you need to touch up your chain at all. You have your sharpening stuff with you at all times. Another thing I keep in there is an extra bar nut. Because what could happen? You'd be out there in the woods, you have to maybe change the chain, and then you lose one of your bar nuts, and then you're pretty much done. You can't put your bar cover back on. So I keep an extra one because I know myself, I know someday I'm going to lose one out in the woods, and that's going to end my day, unfortunately. Well, it would end that saw, so I would go to my backup saw or take one of the bar nuts off of the other saw. That's the nice thing about staying with the same brand. You can use a lot of the same parts between saws. I've got extra chain in here as well. This right here is actually my ripping chain for my chainsaw mill, but I have a few spools of chain in here because you never know when one goes dull, you don't want to stop to sharpen. You can just put a new chain on there and be ready to go again. Or if you hit something and you ruin your chain, like a rock or something, you've got that. So for actually using my chainsaw mill, I keep a few of the things for that in the box as well. I have my spacer blocks for setting the height of the mill, and I also have the screws and washers that I use for securing the ladder to the log for the first cut. This here is my actual chainsaw mill. This is a Panther Mill 2. I'll leave a link to that company's website in the description if you want to take a look at this mill. But I like this one a lot. It's made out of steel, so it's pretty heavy, and that's really nice when you're using it because it helps to balance out the weight of the power head, because that power head is going to be hanging off the side of the log. So it's nice to be able to have a nice counterweight to that. I also have a 42-inch bar that I use for the mill as well. And with this bar clamped into the mill, I get about 33 inches of cut width. The nice thing about this mill is it's pretty cheap. This one here is a 42-inch mill, so it can expand to be 42 inches of cut width. So it'd probably take like a 4-foot bar or a 48-inch bar or 52-inch bar pretty easily. And this one here is $150, so it's actually pretty cheap. And it's really, really well built. And then for the majority of my sharpening back here in the shop, I like to sharpen all my chains in the shop and then have them in my box so I can take them out and use them as I need. I have this really cheap chainsaw sharpener from Harbor Freight. It actually works really well for how much I paid for it. It was about $25 or so. I know it could probably be better. The wheel could probably be finer on here. So I'm sure that the sharpness that I'm able to get on my chains isn't as sharp as it could be, but for what I do, it works really well, and maybe someday I'll upgrade to a nicer sharpener for sharpening my chains, but for now this works really well for me. All the saws that I have, they're all used. I've never bought a new saw in my life before. The cool thing, or the thing that I like the most about buying them, is I've bought some that are fine. The 046, the big saw, I bought that one used, about half off what you would pay brand new for one of those things, and that one runs perfectly well. I also bought a couple of fixer-upper saws just so I could learn a little more about small engine repair, and that was this one here. My little 026, it needed a whole new clutch side. So someone had burned out the clutch, so it needed a new clutch, a new drum, new sprocket, and also the body was melted too, so it needed a whole new body. So it was actually maybe a little cheaper to repair it myself. So it probably wasn't like all that much as far as money well spent. I could have bought one that runs just fine for a little bit more money, but this is the experience of being able to fix these things yourself and having a reason to fix it. I enjoyed it. It was a good learning experience. So I hope you enjoyed seeing a little bit about my chainsaw stuff. If you have any ideas for future Ask Matts, please feel free to leave those in a comment below or send them to me on Facebook or Twitter. I'm always looking for more topics, and I'm really liking making these things. So it's really up to you. Whatever you want me to talk about, I will. So thank you as always for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments about anything I showed today with my chainsaw stuff or anything else here in my shop, please feel free to leave me a comment. As always, I appreciate those, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking.